The greatest games, the biggest names. Another FIFA World Cup is set to begin. The 22nd edition of the FIFA World Cup is set to begin in Qatar. And well, here we are at the Indian Express going to talk about the big tournament preview or the first match preview on the opening day or night preview, whatever you want to call it. I'm Rahul Pandey and I've been joined by our eyes and ears in Qatar for this FIFA World Cup. Sandip is joining us all the
Hi,
way
Rahul.
from Doha right now. Hi, Sandeep. First things first. This has been a long build-up to this tournament. There has
Yeah,
been a big build-up to this tournament. What's the mood like right now on the 11th hour before the tournament?
I mean, it's been absolutely electric in the last couple of days. I mean, the first day I landed, it was sort of the fans were getting in, and they were just settling into their accommodation and all those things. But now, the last day, the day before, people were out on the streets, people were really enjoying, and I mean, just like how the mood should be before a World Cup. I mean, you go to the fans festival enclosures and all. I mean, you can find people from everywhere, from Argentina, from Mexico, from Ecuador, Tunisia, the whole spectrum of world is here, and eagerly awaiting for not just opening day, but for the matches of the respective countries. And there's a lot of Iran also, because Iran, the proximity of Iran and Doha, and the bilateral ties they share. I mean, a lot of them from, from even from countries that are not playing in the World Cup. There are fans like, obviously a lot of Indian fans. There are a few Sri Lankans there, and just soak in the mood and enjoy. Mm. And all the controversial stuff, they've left behind all the controversial stuff and the build up, which has been really long, as you said, like 12 years, 13 years, sort of the hostility Doha had to face. I mean, now things have settled down much better, and
Yeah,
then
I'm sure.
it's a city that's all set for the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is the first World Cup in the Middle East. This is the first World Cup for the Middle East. You wrote a pretty interesting article talking about football and Qatar and, what the sport
Yeah.
means for that country. What can you elaborate on, just the research that went behind, the conversations that went behind that article, as well as your personal experience since you have arrived in the country? What does the sport mean to Qatar?
I mean, initially, I was very apprehensive of the country's football culture. You hear, I mean, you generally read the Western media a lot, and you generally don't read too much stuff from the Middle East. So, I mean, I was a little prejudiced. But as I talked to more people, as I read about, I found that there's a pretty interesting um, uh, football culture in the country, and maybe not as vibrant as some of the nations, like you said, Germany or France or Brazil, the traditional footballing powerhouses. But there, I mean, for a country that has been in existence for 50 years, I mean, it's terrific. And let's not forget that they're also the Asian champions. So the for all talk of footballing non-legacy and all, I felt it was a little exaggerated. They do have a legacy, and they do have a lot of interest in this game. And I mean, I've heard, like, people support the El Anabis, as they call, very passionately here. They have all sorts of slogans, chants, and people say actually, to see your Qataris outside, you have to go to a football stadium, because they generally don't go out, but they come out to watch a game of football. And I'm sure the crowd support will be electric for this game.
Absolutely. And let's talk about this game, right? The opener.
Yeah.
Qatar facing Ecuador in Group A. Of course, when you look at this group, Netherlands almost immediately sparkle themselves. They look like the team that's going to top this group. But, never say never. We've seen upsets in this tournament before. We saw quite a few of them in the last edition. How do the chances for these two teams look when it comes to progressing to the next stages? Because Netherlands and Senegal, despite the fact that Sadio Mane has been ruled out, do look like a unit that, can make a place and do look more favorites, let's say, than the other two teams that are going to begin the tournament. Or do you think it's otherwise?
No, not exactly. Like, the Dutch obviously start the favorites. I mean, kind of qualifying run they have, and then the players and the manager they have. So, but they sometimes tend to slug slow as well. They can be caught off guard as well. I think it's a very open group. Senegal, as you know, even without Sadio Mane, is a pretty strong team. So you cannot rule them out. Yeah, Dutch will obviously be slight favorites, followed by Senegal and Ecuador and Qatar. A lot of people predict Qatar would crash out in the first round, but you've seen like how host teams perform. Like 13 out of the 21 editions, the host teams have reached at least the semi-finals. And the number will come down if you count them progressing the knockouts. I think the last time I remember in this century a host team couldn't make get out of a group stage was in South Africa. But otherwise they've tended to do pretty well. You see South Korea, Russia. So there is that history, and Qatar has been preparing for a long time. You know, they have played the most number of friendly games in the last 2 years. So none of the players featured in the league this year. So I mean, they've been traveling all around Europe and America to get training and exposure. So they must be a very well-drilled unit, very coordinated kind of a unit, very compact unit. Unlike, for example, Ecuador. I mean, players have been here and there. You know, the 2-3 of them play in Brighton. So there are. I mean, they've been scattered around. So this is kind of a strange World Cup where you. There's not that much of a gap between the league and the leagues getting over and the World Cup starting. So maybe a week. I mean, last week they were playing league games. So I mean, it takes time to get drilled into a unit. You know, no matter how much camps they've had before that. So Qatar in that way has a pretty good advantage.
Yeah.
Over at least Ecuador.
Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of fixture they would have wanted to start their tournament on. Netherlands, Senegal, no, you start with Ecuador, and when you know that either of Netherlands or Senegal, or both of them can drop points their first match, you can have an advantage by winning on the opening night, and that's how the group stages fare sometimes. But tell us about the players we need to watch out for today, Sandeep, in both the camps. Any specific players we need to keep our eyes on in this opening match?
Qatar, you need to keep an eye on Akram Afif. He's the best player. I mean, he's quite a player. He's very skillful kind of a player. Very killer passes he's got, and he always feeds to Almioz Ali, who is also like he's a pretty clinical finisher. These two guys are the home favorites, you know. Absolutely. I mean, they are legends here, and the captain Haidos. Haidos is perhaps the most capped Qatari player. I mean, we've been playing for 15, 16 years there. I mean, kind of a now he's dropped down bit deeper in the midfield, but you know he's kind of a pretty solid enforcer. And Brighton, a lot of hopes will be on Caicedo, who again, I mean, Premier League fans will can connect with him in an electric player. And of course, Ener Valencia. He's also another one to look out for. So and Ecuador, more than individuals, the coach has forged a pretty compact, solid unit who play attractive football. At the same time, you know, they're defensively pretty stout.
Yeah, before Sandeep, we wrap up, I think it's only fair that since this is the first time that we are bringing a preview of this tournament, let's have a few predictions, shall we? Let's begin with the team you think that's hot favorite to lift the trophy a month later.
Brazil. I mean, the kind of depth they have, I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. Like, I mean, you look at the lineup, you know, even if Neymar limps out of the tournament in the first stage, I mean, they will still be favorites. That Neymar dependency has also come down. You know, they have almost players for every position. I mean, a couple of them at least. So, I mean, the defense might be a worry. I mean, central defense, you know, one is 38, the other is 36, and then you have Dani Alves at 39. But yeah, well, I mean, these guys, Thiago Silva, the way he played in Chelsea was Chelsea's best last couple of months. So age has not slowed him down. I mean, maybe it's slowed him down a bit, but you know, he's a very aware, very intelligent defender. So I would start Brazil, and they should be fine with the climate as well. I mean, it's now a bit of a mild tropical kind of a climate here, so they must be used to that as well.
Absolutely, and does has all the makings of a Brazil-Argentina final as well this tournament, right? I also think, in a sense, it has a 2002 build-up for the Brazil team. I mean, no forward
Oh
line
yeah,
can
yeah,
match up the Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho influence, but I do think Brazil that way have quite a few good attackers who can,
yeah.
have a similar sort of a campaign. So yeah, that looks like a very good call for the favorites. Who's your favorite when it comes to winning the Golden Boot?
Hope it's. I mean, I wish it's Messi, but I don't know. Like it could be Neymar as well.
Yeah,
And yeah, like
yeah.
you said, like 2002 World Cup feel. I feel. I mean, I have a feeling that France will have an early exit as well, like the 2002 World Cup. You never know.
Well,
Yeah,
the Champions curse, it's been there for some time now. So yeah, I do hope that they kind of lift that up in this tournament. But let's see what's going to happen. Last shout out. Who do you think is going to be the best goalkeeper this tournament?
Allison.
Sounds fair. If Brazil are to progress later in the later
Yeah,
stages of the
yeah,
tournament, he'll have to have a good tournament. So yeah,
yeah.
those are yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Brazil's depth in, I mean, like Ederson is as good as a goalkeeper as Allison is, but unfortunately he won't be playing. I mean, I'm actually a pretty big fan of Ederson, but
That's a good problem to have, isn't it? You
yeah,
don't want
it is. It
to
is.
go into a tournament without backups in particular positions. But
But
yeah,
Emi Martinez also, like, I mean, he's also a terrific goalkeeper. I mean, he's terrific. Like, I mean, in one-on-one situations, I think he's a little better than Allison, I feel.
absolutely. And during the penalty shootouts, that I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
Brazil
yeah.
players will vouch for. He has a good run of form going into this World Cup when it comes to goalkeeping against set pieces, but we'll watch out for how he fares and how the rest of the teams fare. Thank you so much for Sandeep taking your time out. I
Thank you,
know
Rahul.
it's going to be a busy day, a
Thank
busy tournament for you. Best wishes to
yeah,
you,
thank
and
you, thank you.
thank you so much to all our viewers. And if you do want to know all that is happening at the FIFA World Cup and all that is happening in the world of sports, do stay tuned at the Indian Express.